This is questions 79, 80, 81, 83, 84, 86, 87 and 88 from exercise 1.14 in Project Maths 3A. We have to express these questions in the form of 2 to the n, or 3 to the n, or 5 to the n, or 7 to the n. So we have to try and get these down, each of these expressions down to one of these bases to a power. So we'll start with 79. It looks like it's clearly going to be 5 to the n in this one. So on our top here of our fraction, instead of 25, we're going to be able to write 5 to the power of 2. And then on the bottom of our fraction, the square root of 5 can be rewritten as 5 to the power of a half. And if we use our division rule on this, it becomes 5 to the power of 2 minus a half, which is equal to 5 to the power of 1.5, which is just 3 over 2. So 5 to the power of 3 halves, like that. If we look at 80, alright, the very first thing we can do is we can say that's 125 to the power of a half, like that. And then 125 is actually 5 cubed. So we have 5 to the power of 3, all to the power of a half. And this here is going to require the application of the power to a power rule. So when you have a power like this raised to a power, in which case we have the power of 3 raised to the power of a half, you multiply the powers. So 3 times a half is going to be 3 halves. So this one is going to be 5 to the power of 3 halves, like that. For our next one, it looks like it's going to be with a base of 7. So on the bottom of our fraction, we're going to have 1 over 7 to the power of a half. But our negative power rule will help us with this next bit. So when we bring the 7 above the line, so we just get 7 instead of 1 over 7, we're going to change this from a half to negative a half. So it becomes 7 to the power of minus 1 over 2, like that. For 83, inside our brackets, we're going to change that 4 to be 2 to the power of 2, and the root 2 to be 2 to the power of a half. And that's still all squared. Inside our brackets, we're going to have 2 to the power of 2 minus a half, and that's still going to be all squared. 2 minus a half is 3 over 2, so we're going to end up with 2 to the power of 3 over 2, all to the power of 2. And now we're going to use our power to a power rule to multiply 3 halves by 2, so we're just going to get 2 to the power of 3 for that one. In 84, we're going to, inside our brackets, we're going to change our fraction to be 1 over 3 to the power of a half, and that's still all squared. And now we're going to apply our negative power rule similar to how we did in 81. So inside our brackets, we're going to have 3 to the power of minus a half, and that's still all squared. And now we apply our power to a power rule. So minus a half times 2 is just minus 1. So that's going to be 3 to the power of minus 1, like that. For 86, there's going to be a good bit of changing here. So inside our brackets, we're first going to change that root 8 to be 8 to the power of a half. And it's still just going to be over 2, but it's 2 to the power of 1. It's all still squared. 8 itself can be rewritten as 2 to the power of 3. So we have 2 to the 3 to the power of a half, all over 2 to the 1, and that's all squared, like that. Now on the top of our fraction, we're going to apply the power to a power rule. So we're going to multiply the powers. So we're going to get 2 to the power of 3 halves, and that's still over 2 to the 1. And it's still in a bracket, and it's still all squared. And now we apply our division rule inside the bracket. So it's going to be 2 to the power of 3 halves minus 1, which is just going to be 1 half, like that. And that's all squared. And now we're going to apply our power to a power rule, so we're going to multiply a half by 2, and we're just going to get 2 to the 1, which is just 2, like that. For 87, we're going to change the top of our fraction to be 5 squared, and the bottom of our fraction to be 5 to the power of a half, and that's all in a bracket to be squared. If we apply our division rule inside the brackets, we have 5 to the power of 2 minus a half, so it's going to be 5 to the power of 3 halves, and that's all inside a bracket that's being squared. And if we apply the power to a power rule, we just end up with 5 cubed, like that. Now for our last one in this video, we're looking at 88. So we're going to change the root 3 to be 3 to the power of a half, and that's all over 3 to the power of 2, because 3 squared is 9. That's all in a bracket, and that's being squared. If we apply our division rule inside of our bracket, it's going to be 3 to the power of 1 half minus 2, and that's all being squared. 1 half minus 2 is minus 1.5, so that's minus 3 halves. It's going to be 3 to the power of minus 3 halves, and that's all still squared. And then if we apply our power to a power rule, minus 3 halves by 2 is just minus 3. So we end up with 3 to the power of minus 3. And that is that.